Let's bring in Ben Ferguson, host of the Ben Ferguson Show. Ben, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
So the commander-in-chief ordering this strike in defense of Christians on Christmas Day. What do you make of it?
Yeah, two things. One, I think the president made it very clear a month ago, don't screw with me. I'm telling you what I'm going to do if you don't protect Christians. It's been open season on Christians, those that lead churches and communities and homes, and it's been, in essence, what many Christians have described as a genocide happening in Nigeria. If you're a Christian, you are a target for death. And the president made it clear, stop it, and if you do not, we will come after you. These are terrorists that are a threat to these people, and I think the president made it very clear he is going to stand by his word and back it up. I also kind of laugh at the fact that liberals were criticizing the president for doing this on Christmas Day. I'll remind them, George Washington also went to war and attacked on Christmas Day. So Donald Trump is just like George Washington in this sense. I don't care what the liberals say. This president protecting and defending Christians around the world is a good thing.
We know that 125,000 Christians have been killed in Nigeria since 2009. In recent months, we've seen the president be very aggressive in terms of going after Iran, nukes, also in Venezuela, and now Nigeria. How is that playing with the Trump base?
Look, I think that the Trump, people that understand the MAGA mentality and what the president's doing here is, look, he doesn't want to invade countries. He does, however, believe that we must go after terrorists wherever they are. And we must go after people that are trying to harm us or Christians or others that are aligned with us. And if you look at the attack on the Iran nuclear site, he made it clear, I'm not trying to invade. I'm not trying to even go for regime change. But I am going to make sure that you don't have the ability to kill innocent people, whether it's our allies in Israel or Americans or others around the country. If you target American troops. We saw an attack last week because Americans were killed. What did he say there? You target American troops, we will come back with the fury of hell from America on you. And at some point, these terrorists and bad actors need to understand this president, when he tells you and gives you a warning, a shot across the bow, believe him, because every time he says it, he will do it if you don't change course. That's what keeps Americans safe. And I also think it is a real clear symbol. The president will use everything in his toolbox, including sanctions, to come after you as well. Look at what's happening in Venezuela.
Ben, I'm just struck by that number in terms of the slaughter of Christians in Nigeria. I think the vast amount of Americans here living our lives are preoccupied, not necessarily totally focused on that, but that's a staggering number of people slaughtered because they are Christian.
Yeah, it's really sad. I give a lot of credit to Fox News for bringing this to light. Senator Cruz and I, on the podcast we do together, we've been talking about this for months because there's just been such a void of the coverage, a silence of Christians that are targeted solely because they believe in Jesus. And if you think about what they're doing in Nigeria, it's systematic. They're moving like it's a war to different areas, trying to find Christians and slaughtering them. And the media has been silent on this. The international media, I would say this, where's the United Nations on this? Where are all the international organizations that always are supposed to be bringing this to light? Nothing at the UN on this. It is a disgrace. And why? Because it is Christians. They look the other way, and they must be called out. And I'm glad the president's doing it.
The Trump administration also taking its battle against censorship to the next level. The State Department with visa bans on these 5 Europeans from entering the United States for allegedly pressuring American tech companies to censor or suppress American speech online. All 5 are leaders in European efforts to regulate social media content they deem harmful. Secretary of State Marco Rubio posting on X, quote, for far too long, ideologues in Europe have led organized efforts to coerce American platforms to punish American viewpoints they oppose. The Trump administration will no longer tolerate these egregious acts of extraterritorial censorship. What's your read on that?
Well, look, a lot of this comes back to the issue of what the EU has been doing towards companies that they want to force into censorship. They're now going after them with taxes and saying, we got to have these certain taxes you have to pay. You have to be in compliance. If you're not, you're going to pay major fines. And this is how they're trying to force American companies into silencing people in Europe. It is wrong. I think the president moving on this one, the State Department and Rubio putting it this way, this is something I'm glad it's done now. I wish it even could have been done sooner than this. But this is a real clear socialist ideology that has exploded in the EU. And they're silencing people for just giving their opinions, just saying what you believe in. And thank goodness we live in a country where I don't have to ask permission to criticize my own government. or criticize the EU. And if I put a tweet out there criticizing the silencing of people that disagree with the leadership there, the fact that they want to then say to X and other platforms, you need to silence Ben Ferguson. We don't like what he's saying. And if you don't, we're going to penalize you through taxes. It is the definition of silencing free speech. So the president should keep this up. He should keep exposing it. The American people need to understand what this is all about. And right now, I would say Europe has fallen to socialism and not allowing people to actually say what they believe in. I mean, you have people that are being arrested in their 70s and 80s for what they've said on Twitter that was not violent, that was not terrorist threats. It was just giving their opinion. So if you're in Europe and you see this, you guys have got to wake up because you're losing your freedoms in real time.
To that point, Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett on free speech in the UK. Let's play her.
Think about what's happening with respect to free speech rights in the UK.
Yeah.
People, contrary opinions or opinions that are not in the mainstream are not being tolerated, and they're even being criminalized. Because of the First Amendment, that can't happen here.
How alarming is that from a free speech perspective?
It's terrifying. And not only is it terrifying, but then this goes back to what they're trying to do in Europe, which is we want to crush companies, even if they're not in our nation, until you comply with our silencing of people and what they say. When you have a Supreme Court justice like Amy Coney Barrett who's saying this way, and the way that she articulated it is brilliant. It should be put everywhere in Europe right now. This is the warning. You want to lose any freedom you have, you want to be under communist or socialist rule, keep going down this road. But the president has to put a light on this because we do need our allies in Europe. We do not need them to go backwards in time. We do not need them to be locking up 70 and 80-year-olds or 16 and 18-year-olds who put something on social media. It's disgusting. But if we don't talk about it, they're going to keep doing this with the leadership they have now.
Ben Ferguson, great to see you. Thanks very much.
Good to see you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.